They betrayed humanity in battle. The galaxy was left helpless. In just 2 centuries, humans had mastered interstellar travel, colonized dozens of star systems, and built alliances with alien civilizations. They had fought small skirmishes, defended their colonies, and learned from every battle. And now, they were at the edge of a war that could decide the fate of the entire Orion expanse. Admiral Lena Torres stood on the bridge of the human flagship Dauntless. Her eyes scanned the holomap before her, showing a massive Xylar fleet approaching. The Xylar Dominion was unlike anything humanity had faced before. They were ruthless, brutal, and fast, but humans were not alone. The Coalition fleet included the Velari, with their energy-based weapons, the Kryn, known for their massive armor, and the Zevorians, experts in stealth and ambush tactics. Together, the Coalition should have been unbeatable. "Admiral," said Lieutenant Rajan, pointing at the screen, "Xylar vessels are entering attack range. They're moving faster than predicted." Lena nodded. "Keep the formation tight. Velari shield the outer flanks. Kryn cover the center. Humans prepare the new adaptive cannons. Everyone must hold until the fleet can coordinate. This is our chance to end the Xylar threat here and now." The Coalition ships adjusted their positions. Humans had designed the fleet's command systems to coordinate even with alien technologies. Communication was slow but precise. Lena knew her team and their human engineers had a reputation for efficiency and creativity, and that confidence was needed. Hours passed. The first shots of the battle were fired across the void. Plasma beams cut through the darkness, striking enemy ships that exploded in brilliant bursts of fire. The humans fought with precision, using strategies that even seasoned alien commanders could admire. Then it happened. A flash from the flank. Not from the Xylar, but from the Velari. Lena blinked at the readings. "What, Admiral?" Rajan shouted. "Velari ships, they're targeting the Coalition. They're firing at us." Lena felt her stomach drop. It was impossible. The Velari had been allies for decades. Their ships had fought beside humans in countless battles, and now they were turning their weapons on them. "Red alert," Lena barked. "Evasive maneuvers, shield priority to the human ships. Everyone brace for impact." Explosions rocked the Dauntless as energy beams tore through the formation. Human ships were hit first, their shields straining against the sudden assault. The Kryn tried to respond, but the Velari were precise, moving faster than anyone had anticipated. It was not random. It was a carefully calculated betrayal. The Dauntless shuddered as a direct hit tore a hole in its hull. Lena gritted her teeth. "Status. Shields down 50%. Engines at 30. We're taking heavy losses." Lena's hand hovered over the command console. She had to act fast. "Rajan, get the civilians' evacuation pods ready. I don't want a single life lost if we have to pull back." "Yes, Admiral." Even amid the chaos, Lena's mind was clear. Humans were survivors. Humans were fighters, and they would not go down quietly. The battle raged for hours. The Coalition fleet, once confident and organized, was now in chaos. Ships were exploding in clusters as the Velari cut through their ranks. The Xylar, who had been advancing steadily, paused in confusion, unsure of the sudden attack. But even with the confusion, the Xylar were deadly. They adapted quickly, taking advantage of the disorder caused by the betrayal. Lena watched as the Dauntless dodged another volley of energy blasts. Her crew moved with precision, repairing shields and redirecting power to engines. The human adaptive cannons fired back at the Velari attackers. One by one, enemy ships were damaged or destroyed. But for every Velari ship downed, 2 humans were lost. "Admiral," Rajan yelled. "We can't hold them much longer. The fleet is breaking apart." Lena swallowed hard. She knew he was right. The humans could fight, but without allies, survival was uncertain. She turned her eyes toward the distant nebula where the fleet had started. Most of the Coalition ships were retreating in disarray. Many were gone, destroyed before they could even react. "Prepare for a strategic withdrawal," Lena said. "Set a course for the outer rim colonies. We'll regroup and fight another day. Humans survive." Even as the Dauntless pulled away, Lena could see the destruction in the void behind them. Entire squadrons of humans had been wiped out. Ships from the Kryn and Zevorians that had survived the initial betrayal were retreating, leaving their allies to die. The Velari, their betrayal complete, vanished into hyperspace as mysteriously as they had attacked. Silence filled the Dauntless once they were clear of immediate danger. The stars outside the viewport seemed calm, almost indifferent, after the chaos that had just occurred. Lena's heart ached for the lives lost and the destruction witnessed. "Damage report," she said quietly. "Hull integrity 60%, shields down to 30, engines holding at 50%. Casualties heavy," Rajan replied, his voice low. Lena nodded. "Heavy, not total." Humans had survived. That was all that mattered. The fleet limped toward the outer rim colonies. Messages were sent to every human settlement within range. "Alert! Coalition betrayed. Evacuate or prepare defenses. Help is delayed." For many civilians, panic set in. Starports were crowded, ships were scarce, and supply lines were disrupted. But even in panic, humans showed determination. Colonists joined volunteer defense squads. Engineers worked around the clock to repair old ships, and pilots trained for combat missions even in the middle of a retreat. Meanwhile, Lena gathered her command team in the strategy room. "We need to understand this betrayal. Why did the Velari turn on us? Was it Xylar influence, greed, fear? We must know, and we must prepare for the next stage." One of her lieutenants spoke up. "Admiral, there is something else. The Xylar didn't press the attack when the Velari betrayed us." They watched from the distance, almost cautious. Lena frowned. "Cautious, or waiting, either way it doesn't matter. Humans can't rely on hesitation. We need a plan to survive and recover. That's our duty to every life still out there." The first days in the Outer Rim were harsh. Supply shortages, damaged infrastructure, and the looming threat of Xylar patrols made life difficult. But humanity did what it always did. They adapted. Engineers converted mining vessels into combat ships. Colonists built makeshift defenses around settlements. And Lena's fleet worked tirelessly to train civilians, teach them strategies, and instill hope. Even among the fear, humans found ways to shine. Small victories, rescuing stranded ships, repairing damaged communication hubs, striking back at Xylar scouting parties, showed that humans were not defeated. Lena reminded her people constantly, "We may be betrayed, we may be wounded, but we are never helpless." One night as Lena walked the corridors of the Dauntless, she looked at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Velari celebrated their betrayal, confident they had crippled humanity. Somewhere, the Xylar plotted their next attack, expecting easy conquest. But Lena knew something they did not. Humans could survive, and humans could fight back in ways no one imagined. She touched the hull of the ship. "We will rise from this," she whispered. "We will show the galaxy what humans are capable of. Even when betrayed, we endure. Even when alone, we prevail." For the first time in days, Lena allowed herself a small smile. Humanity was battered, yes, but humanity was not broken. And in the cold, endless void of space, that was a power no one could underestimate. The outer rim was quiet, but the quiet was fragile. Stars twinkled like distant promises, yet every human knew danger lurked in the void. The Velari had vanished after their betrayal, leaving chaos in their wake. The Xylar Dominion had slowed their advance, but they still roamed nearby star systems, waiting for a moment of weakness. Humanity was battered, scattered, and isolated, but they were far from defeated. Admiral Lena Torres walked through the makeshift command center on the Dauntless. Around her, engineers worked feverishly on damaged systems. Human ships, torn and scarred, floated in the docking bays of the outer rim colonies, waiting to be repaired. Lena's team had begun transforming mining vessels, freighters, and even abandoned civilian ships into combat-ready vessels. Adaptability had become their strongest weapon. "We've got 10 ships that can make combat sorties in 48 hours," said Lieutenant Rajan, pointing at a hollow map of the fleet. "They're small, slow, and not heavily armed, but they can fight." Lena studied the fleet layout. 10 ships aren't enough to face the Xyler in open space, but they're enough to strike where they don't expect it. We're not trying to win the war today. We're trying to survive and then turn the tide. Rajan nodded. "We also recovered some Xyler drones from the last battle. Engineers say we can reverse engineer their targeting systems." "Good. Adaptation is key," Lena said. "Humans survive because we learn, we innovate. Every loss is a lesson." The first weeks were difficult. Supply shortages were constant. Colonists had barely enough fuel and food to last, and morale was fragile. Yet Lena and her officers led by example, working alongside civilians to repair ships and build defenses. Engineers rewired older vessels, installing new shields and retrofitting weapons. Even civilian shuttles became scouts and light attack craft. In the evenings, Lena would gather small groups of colonists and pilots to train them. "The Xyler and the Velari believe we are weak," she said one night, standing under the dim lights of the colony hangar. "They are wrong. We fight smarter, not just harder. We survive because we think, because we adapt, because we refuse to give up. And when the time comes, we will rise stronger than ever." The humans took these words to heart. Civilians became mechanics, pilots, and engineers. Children learned navigation and strategy games that mimicked real combat scenarios. Every person contributed. Every effort mattered. One night, a scouting team returned with critical intelligence. Small Xyler patrols were near the outer rim colonies, searching for survivors. Lena studied the maps, eyes narrowing. "They think we are easy prey. Let's prove them wrong." The humans launched their first small-scale offensive. 10 ships, retrofitted and patched together, set out to intercept a Xyler supply convoy. The odds were against them, but Lena's strategy was precise. They used asteroid fields to hide their approach and plasma cannons salvaged from destroyed Velari ships to strike. The battle was quick but decisive. The human fleet destroyed several Xyler cargo ships and captured critical supplies. Casualties were low, and the victory spread hope through the colonies. For the first time since the betrayal, humans felt a sense of control. "This is only the beginning," Lena told her crew. "Every strike we make teaches us. Every lesson we learn strengthens us." News of the human success traveled fast. In the void, other alien races, those who had watched from a distance during the betrayal, began to take notice. The Kryn, who had retreated to their home systems, sent a message: "Humans are still fighting. Perhaps they are not as helpless as believed." Inspired, Lena began planning larger operations. The humans could not face the Velari head-on yet, but they could reclaim lost colonies and protect civilians. They built hidden bases on asteroid fields, used old mining tunnels as repair yards, and employed stealth technology to avoid direct confrontations. Months passed. Humanity adapted. They learned to use the Xyler's own scouting drones against them. They rigged derelict ships to explode near enemy supply lines. They trained pilots to fight in coordinated squadrons despite limited numbers. And with every small victory, the human fleet grew more confident. Lena watched the stars from the bridge of the Dauntless one evening. "We are small," she said softly to Rajan, who stood beside her, "but we are not powerless. The galaxy may have abandoned us, but humans never abandon each other. That is our strength." Rajan nodded. "I've never seen the crew so determined. Even the civilians are learning combat tactics now. They believe in us, in humanity." "That's the key," Lena said. "We do not fight just for ourselves. We fight for everyone who cannot. Every life, every system, every human, we protect them all. That is why the galaxy must respect us. That is why we endure." The next operation was more ambitious. Intelligence reports indicated a Velari scout fleet was monitoring human colonies near the Coran Belt. Lena decided to strike preemptively. She split her small fleet into 3 groups, each disguised as damaged freighters. Humans moved with caution, using stealth and deception rather than brute force. The plan worked perfectly. The Velari scouts, seeing what they thought were helpless vessels, approached. Then, humans sprung the trap. Hidden cannons and explosive charges hit the enemy fleet simultaneously. The scouts were destroyed or captured before they could send a warning. The operation cost humans very little. For the first time, Lena felt a small sense of justice. "We are not just survivors," she said to her officers. "We are a force. One day the galaxy will remember that humans are not weak, not fragile, not expendable. We endure, we adapt, and we fight." The victories, though small, began to inspire hope in neighboring systems. Refugees from Velari attacks began looking to human colonies for shelter. Traders, who had abandoned routes due to the Xylar threat, began returning, bringing supplies and news. Even alien species, previously skeptical, started quietly assisting humanity, sending messages of cautious admiration. Lena did not celebrate. She knew the true test was yet to come. The Velari were still out there, and the Xylar were still advancing. But she allowed herself a rare moment of optimism. Humans could fight smarter, faster, and more creatively than any other race in the galaxy. Humanity's ingenuity was more than technology. It was moral courage, teamwork, and resilience. When resources were low, they created more. When allies abandoned them, they relied on each other. When faced with impossible odds, they found solutions. Lena began training a new generation of human leaders, pilots, tacticians, and engineers who could think on their feet and act decisively in chaos. One evening, a young pilot named Myra approached Lena. "Admiral," she said, "I know we're small, but do you really think humans can defeat the Velari and the Xylar? After what they did to us?" Lena looked at her, calm and steady. "Myra, we may not defeat them yet. But we can survive. We can fight back. And we will teach the galaxy that humans are not to be underestimated. When the time comes, our small victories will become a storm no one can ignore." Myra nodded, eyes bright with determination. "Then I'll do everything I can to make that storm happen." The storm had already begun. As months turned into a year, humans reclaimed several colonies from Xylar raids. They captured enemy drones and ships, using them to strengthen their fleet. Colonists became skilled engineers and pilots, and Lena's fleet grew in size and confidence. Every raid, every operation, every small victory was proof. Humans survived not because they were strongest, but because they were clever, adaptable, and united. Lena observed one such operation. A small convoy of freighters carrying essential supplies was trapped by a Xylar patrol near the Scylla Belt. The humans, now skilled in stealth and tactical maneuvers, devised a plan. Using asteroid cover and decoys, they ambushed the patrol. The battle was precise, clean, and decisive. Supplies were saved, the Xylar were driven off, and no human life was lost. It was a victory that became a legend among the colonies. "Humans saved us," civilians said. "They fight even when all hope seems lost." The story spread quietly across the outer rim, inspiring confidence and respect. Even Lena felt a quiet pride. She knew the real challenge was still ahead. The Velari and the Xylar would eventually regroup. But humanity had begun to prove something extraordinary. Betrayal could wound them, attack could destroy them, isolation could test them. But humans could never be broken. The galaxy may have abandoned them, but humans had not abandoned themselves. The galaxy had changed. The betrayal of the Velari, the near destruction of the human fleet, and the Xylar advance had left scars on countless star systems. Yet humanity had endured. From the ruins of shattered colonies and battered ships, humans had rebuilt, adapted, and grown stronger. Admiral Lena Torres stood on the bridge of the Dauntless, now refitted and upgraded with technology scavenged from Velari and Xylar ships. Around her, a fleet of human ships glimmered in the outer rim's starlight. It was still smaller than any true coalition fleet, but it was disciplined, organized, and deadly. Every human aboard these ships had survived impossible odds, and everyone had a reason to fight. "We've tracked the Velari fleet to the Urindor system," said Lieutenant Rajan, pointing at the holographic map. "They're regrouping, possibly waiting for reinforcements from the Xylar. We have a chance to strike first." Lena's eyes narrowed. "We strike not to destroy, but to reclaim. We give them a choice, retreat and live or face human resolve. The galaxy must see that betrayal will never go unpunished, but honor and cooperation can be rebuilt. Prepare the fleet. This is our chance to turn the tide." The plan was bold. The human fleet would split into 3 groups. One would act as a decoy, drawing the Velari into an ambush. Another would cut off their escape, while the main force, led by Lena herself, would strike at the heart of the enemy formation. Precision, timing, and coordination were critical. As the human ships moved into position, Lena addressed her officers. "Remember, we are not only fighting for ourselves. We fight for every human, every allied race that has suffered because of betrayal, and every star system that depends on us. We fight smart, we fight together, and we fight with honor." The first phase began. The decoy group, disguised as damaged freighters, floated near the edge of the Urindor system. The Velari scouts, believing humans were still weak and scattered, took the bait. Energy weapons flared as the decoy ships drew them in, leading them into the waiting ambush. From hidden positions behind asteroids and nebula clouds, human ships emerged. The Dauntless fired the first salvo, precise and deadly. Xylar and Velari ships were caught by surprise, their formation broken. Explosions illuminated the void as energy beams tore through enemy hulls. Human pilots executed maneuvers that no one had thought possible for a fleet of their size. Even with their tactical genius, the battle was dangerous. Velari ships adapted quickly, firing plasma beams and attempting to regroup. Lena's fleet responded with calculated precision. Every human pilot, every crew member, acted in perfect harmony, using decades of improvisation and ingenuity learned since the betrayal. "Admiral," Rajan shouted, "their flagship is trying to retreat. If it escapes, the Velari could rally." Lena's eyes narrowed. "Not today. Signal Group 2. Cut off their exit near the Urindor Nebula. Everyone else maintain pressure. We finish this." The second group, waiting in the shadow of the nebula, emerged from hyperspace. They flanked the enemy, blocking their path. Human ships, smaller but faster, darted between larger Velari vessels, striking weak points. The Velari flagship, realizing escape was impossible, turned to face Lena's fleet. Lena's hands moved over the controls with calm determination. "This is it. Concentrate fire on the engines and weapons systems. Disable, but do not destroy unless necessary. We fight with honor." The battle escalated into a brilliant dance of strategy and skill. Energy beams streaked across the darkness, ships twisted through asteroid fields, and the human fleet executed maneuvers that seemed impossible for their numbers. Even the Xylar drones, now working with Velari ships, could not counter humanity's coordination. Hours passed. The humans had suffered losses, but they had disabled the Velari flagship and scattered the rest of the fleet. The remaining Velari ships sent a message, their tone trembling with respect and fear. "Humans, you are not like any we have faced. We underestimated you. We wish to negotiate." Lena studied the message carefully. She did not celebrate. Victory was not complete until all threats were addressed, but this was the turning point. Humanity, once betrayed and abandoned, now held the power to reclaim their honor. "Prepare to receive them," Lena said. "We offer terms: retreat, surrender stolen colonies, and pledge no further betrayal. We fight to survive, not to destroy. This is our code." The Velari, humbled by the humans' skill and honor, agreed. The negotiations were tense, but ultimately the Velari pledged to aid humanity against the Xylar Dominion and restore lost colonies. The galaxy, watching this from afar, began to whisper about humans, not just as survivors but as leaders, innovators, and a moral force in the cosmos. Meanwhile, Lena turned her attention to the Xylar. Intelligence indicated that the Xylar fleet had been observing the Urandor battle but had not engaged. Their arrogance had cost them. Humans, now unified and stronger than ever, could anticipate and counter the Xylar threat. The final confrontation came near the Andros Nebula. Human ships, now organized into coordinated squadrons, moved with silent precision. The Xylar fleet approached, confident in their numbers and firepower. But the humans had learned to fight smarter, faster, and with creative strategy. Admiral Lena Torres led the fleet into the nebula's twisting clouds. Visibility was low, but the humans used advanced sensor technology and adaptive shields to navigate. The Xylar, overconfident, flew blindly into traps. Human ships emerged from hidden positions, striking with pinpoint accuracy. The battle was fierce, but humans held the advantage. "Focus on the command ships," Lena ordered. "Disrupt their coordination. The rest will follow." Human pilots darted through the chaos, disabling key enemy vessels while avoiding unnecessary destruction. Civilians and captured colonies had been evacuated beforehand, ensuring that human honor remained intact. Every strike was calculated, every move precise. Hours later, the Xylar fleet, now crippled and disoriented, retreated into deep space. Humanity had not only survived the betrayal, but they had also turned the tide of the galaxy. As the human fleet regrouped, Lena addressed her officers. "The galaxy has seen what humans can do. We fight with courage, with intelligence, and with honor. We do not betray, and we do not forget betrayal. Today, humans have proven that even when abandoned, we rise. Even when isolated, we endure. And even when wounded, we inspire." Word spread quickly across the cosmos. Colonies previously lost to Xylar raids were reclaimed. Refugees returned to their homes. Alien civilizations, impressed by humanity's ingenuity and moral strength, sought alliances and partnerships. Humanity's betrayal had once left the galaxy helpless, but humanity's response had now made the galaxy stronger. Lena stood on the bridge of the Dauntless, watching the stars. Ships moved in coordinated patterns and colonies were rebuilding. Humanity had endured betrayal, hardship, and isolation, but they had survived. They had adapted. They had conquered not just with firepower, but with strategy, ingenuity, and moral courage. A young officer approached Lena, eyes bright with admiration. "Admiral, the galaxy, they're starting to respect humans, not just for fighting, but for how we fought, how we survived, how we led." Lena smiled, a calm and steady smile. "That is the legacy we leave. Humans endure because we are clever, because we are brave, and because we value life, not just ours, but all who cannot defend themselves." The galaxy will remember this day, not as the day humans were betrayed, but as the day humans became the heart of the galaxy. The stars stretched endlessly before them, a sea of light and possibility. Humanity had been betrayed. Humanity had been abandoned. Humanity had faced impossible odds, but humanity had risen. The galaxy would never underestimate them again. Humans had returned, not just as survivors but as leaders, and the future was theirs to shape.